We made it. I'm Andrew McGregor from BBC Radio 3. It's my first time at Leeds Leader. I'm loving it. It's wonderful. Joseph Middleton asked me to come here because I have nothing better to do on Sunday mornings. This, obviously, is our guest of honour, Angelika Kirchschlager, but you knew that. I'm sure some of you have been getting to know her quite well already this week, what with the masterclasses and the recital as well. But Angelika, it was lovely watching you work with the young singers the other evening. I loved what you said to the very first one. I think it was pretty much the first words you said after the first song. You said, "That's wonderful. Why don't you choose something you cannot sing?"
Yeah, I do remember that very well. You know, that's always the greatest fear you have as a teacher, that the young singers show up. They are already too good, you know, what they're going to say. And then you're sitting there, I'm just scanning up and down, like zoom, zoom, like at the airport, you know. And just see what would I tell them if I was in a jury, or if I was in an audition in theatre, what could they do better?
And you talked about giving them the tools, a toolkit that they can use themselves. And
Yes.
what sort of areas do you like to focus on with these young singers? Where do you think your responsibility lies in a masterclass?
I realized during my many years of teaching now that there's so much potential. They have fantastic voices. And obviously what happened to me too, when you study singing, you know, you just get caught in technique. Because it's quite complicated to get it, you know. I mean, you can't touch the chords, you can't touch the palette, you can't touch it. You can touch a pianist's finger, you can touch a violinist's arm, you can touch backs, you can touch everything, you know. But with a singer, you can't touch it. You can't touch the diaphragm. So you have to work with images. And each teacher has different images, and so that's why some students work better together with other teachers. And so what is most important for me, to encourage young singers to stick to themselves, to be truthful to themselves, not forget why they are on stage. I always say, learning to sing is just like building a car or a plane. It's just there to transport you the message from the composer to the audience. And you are the plane, you know. And it's useless to get stuck in the plane and just go from A to B and never land, you know. Just use what you learned and then be courageous. You have to have an opinion. And I saw it, I was watching almost everything, all the master classes. And it's really so great to watch all my colleagues, I mean Amanda and Malcolm, and tonight I will watch Anne, of course. They all gain for one thing, that you are completely present in the moment, and that you give your personality in that moment.
And you also have to give young singers, in a way, permission to possess a song, to own a song.
Right.
As well, because that's something you don't learn straight away, isn't it?
No, you are, I say, obliged. No, that's the wrong word. But you have to own the song. The song has to be your song. You cannot sing someone else's song. You cannot sing, as I said in my masterclass as well, you cannot sing nowadays Wolf as famous colleagues 50 years ago did it, you know? It was so appropriate at that time, but time changes. And we dress differently, and we walk differently, and we hear different music, and different hairstyle, and everything changes. But those pieces of music, they are so forever true, you know? They are timeless. That they just need somebody to translate those timeless music pieces.
And working with the text, always starting with the text. I love something you said to one of them. You said, if it says disappeared, you have to do disappeared. So acting is part of leader singing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very much. It is really very much. Leader singing, for my opinion, it starts with the text, definitely. And all those fantastic songwriters, composers, they put the music perfectly on the text, that you can always sing it as it was spoken. And even if we have long notes prolonged, you know, on a short vowel, that has a meaning. You know, he wants to tell us something. And when I'm teaching, I really try to teach the young singers in découvrir, like a code, like a code.
To decode, yes.
To decode what is written in the piano score.
And not just, obviously, the words. You start with the words and that meaning, but then you have that other layer of meaning. The composer has been there before you. He has interpreted. He occupies so much of the space.
Oh, yeah.
And the responsibility
Thank
to
God.
the composer is huge, obviously.
I always say it's such a relief that the composer has already had an opinion. He has already made an interpretation. How wonderful, I mean, how wonderful to discover Schubert's interpretation of Eichendorff, Wow, So it really doesn't need my interpretation of Eichendorff anymore, because we already have a genius interpretation. And I only realized that very recently, that I got stuck. When I did my first Winterreise, I tried to do it especially good. What is he feeling? He has to get out of the house. And then how far did he walk, Oh, now it's raining. How does he feel, that's true. And I just didn't get anywhere with that idea. And then I realized I just listened to what Schubert's idea has already been. And that was the key.
We should talk about that Winterreise, because this was quite recent, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you have to, if you're a male singer and you sing Lieder, you expect to sing Winterreise, you expect to sing the great cycles, which are traditionally the domain of men. You have to decide that you are going to, you do trousers rolls, this is a sort of travesty.
Yeah, right.
For a Lieder singer, isn't it?
I did this travesty all my life. Now it's more or less over. Thank God, At some point you're just too old to be Cherubino and crawling under a chair, That happened around when I was 40, so thought no more jumping on bed. Talking about, just as trouser rolls, for example, because you mentioned the trouser rolls are sung by women because those young men are in between. It's not supposed to be, it is a young boy, but it's this atmosphere which comes with it, this, like Cherubino, all of them, this enthusiasm. And of course, they're so young that they don't have this male voice. So you need women and their sensitivity to paint the perfect picture for that role.
So why did you decide the time was right for your Winterreise? What made you feel that you wanted to do this, that this was a journey you needed to take?
I wanted to sing it 5 years ago already, but then through circumstances, I got ill, I could not sing it, and then it was prolonged and never happened again. And I thought, maybe it's better that I do not sing it, maybe I'm not there yet, maybe I don't want to sing it at all, it's too big, it's too scary. So I didn't want to sing it, and then it came like puff, the offer came in an interview in Vienna by the director of the Vienna State Opera, whom I have been friends with for many years, and he said, in front of audience, if you ever want to sing Winterreise, you can have my house. So,
no pressure.
Yeah, and I said, of course I want to sing Winterreise, and he said, okay, and he offered me his hand in front of 200 people. And I said, okay. And then it was okay, and then I realized, maybe it's not the best space, Vienna State Opera, 2,400 seats. And actually it was full. Wow. But it's a huge space, still very intimate in the middle, I must say. I felt really well. So that was the reason why it happened now, and it was absolutely the right time. And if I may keep talking and just answer your question about being a woman, and many women have been singing this song cycle, obviously, Irmgard Seefried, Schwarzkopf, Christine Schäfer, Fassbender, of course, Christa Ludwig. If you go to the internet, you find lists and lists of women who have sung it beautifully. In my opinion, this song cycle is not about a disappointed love and a man who has been disappointed by a woman and angrily walks away for 24 songs, I think it's more about life, because what happens to him from one song to the next, that he loses contact to the society, which is also painted in the harmonies which Schubert did in the songs. And that is something what also very well happens to women. So I think it's more about this huge over feeling. I wish my words were better, you know. I was watching my colleagues, you know, and they're just so fantastic, obviously, with their own language. But this is, it's more.
Yeah.
And I think that's, well, also appropriate for women.
And for you, does it change when it's sung by a woman? Terrorizer?
No, it doesn't. I rather prefer a very clear, honest interpretation by a woman than an artificial by a man.
I'm not going to ask for a list. What about other song cycles traditionally associated with men that sort of women
Dichterliebe.
Yes.
Oh, I have sung it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just, I mean, that's even a little bit more tricky because really one song after the next is just so full of love, and it's always the word she, you, and then see. Maybe it's just because I've been in the business so long, but I completely abstract the fact. For me, it doesn't matter. I don't know, maybe for people, I mean, for the audience, or for example, if a man would sing Frauenliebe und Leben, for some reason that's different, but I could not tell why.
Yeah. And I want to talk about how you found your voice in the first place, because you were at the Mozarteum in Salzburg,
yes.
And you were studying percussion and piano.
I did.
Had you always sung, or was this something completely?
I've always been singing. There's even a recording of myself at the age of 3 singing a song.
Not commercially available.
No, but maybe that's a good idea. As I always singing with my mother, with my grandmother, who was a kindergartner, and she knew so many songs. We were singing for Christmas, we were singing in the car, we were singing when we were hiking in the mountains, really always singing. And then I was singing in school and in choruses, and so I got there. And
but it wasn't something you chose to study straight away. What happened? What happened to the piano playing and the percussion?
I didn't have the nerves for the piano. I had, when I was 8, I was at the Mozarteum for this preparation education program for children from 8 to 18, and so I was in that program for 10 years. So we had to have a concert twice a year, and I got stuck every time. We had to play by memory, you know, and I played, and I knew in advance I will get stuck. And I got stuck, 10 years, twice a year, so I got stuck 20 times. And that was the reason why I didn't keep studying the piano.
But you knew you wanted to carry on doing music. And
music was always important to me, yes.
So when did you start thinking voice? When did that happen?
Oh, well, it was a very weird moment, I must say. We did an opera in school, in my last school year. We did a children's opera, and I had the main part of the Kasperl, as we say. Kasperl is the clown.
Yeah.
And I was the clown. That was my first role. And I was very impressed by the pit. There was a school orchestra in the pit. I was in my own dressing room. And it was a lot of fun to do the rehearsals. And so I felt really comfortable. And then I have told that story many times, but it really happened like that. The only time in my life I stepped out of the school bus during this rehearsal period, and I still remember where I looked. I looked at the brewery in Salzburg, and suddenly it hit me, and I thought, maybe I have to become an opera singer. And I thought that was really strange, you know. But it was such a strong feeling. It was really like a call. So I thought, okay, maybe I feel I have to try it. Maybe it doesn't work, but I have to give it a try. And so I went to Vienna and made the entrance exam, and from that moment on, everything just went through.
So there was no plan?
There was never a plan, and I was like hit by, okay, let's go to this audition. Thank you, I have an engagement in Graz. Fantastic, now I will retire in Graz. I have a fantastic job for the next 40 years. 2 years later, Vienna Staatsoper comes along, offers me a contract, said, okay, okay, let's go to Vienna. Well, now I will retire in Vienna, you know. And then one thing after the next comes. And then I remember when I had my first recital at the huge Carnegie Hall in New York. I thought, but now this is the limit. I mean, there's nowhere else to go in height, but then it starts going in width, you know, and you meet people and it never stops. So I was just pulled through this entire thing.
And you never got stuck when you were singing? The nerves, the memory, it never troubled you?
Oh yeah.
Yes?
Many times. I mean, many times. I even don't remember the next song, you know. I start with the wrong song. Once, in Barcelona, I even started with a song which was not in the program.
Was that with the pianist? Did you see their face?
Yes, I started. It was Muttertändelei by Strauss. And at that time we were doing different programs and we were traveling a lot, so I was getting a little bit confused. And then I started, seht mir doch mein schönes Kind. And I realized the pianist is not playing, so it was Helmut Deutsch. And I looked at him and he looked at me and I said, what? And he, I said, huh? I still didn't get it. He said, it's not in the program. So that happens, and forgetting text happens. In a recital, it's kind of okay, unless it happens during Kindertotenlieder or Winterreise. Oh, you always pray to God that this is not going to happen, that you get stuck. Otherwise, you know, like at a recital I did 2 days ago, I'm quite relaxed because we are all human beings, you know, and it can really happen, and we really do our best, yeah. But even if you always try to do your best, it's always going to happen something. That's another thing, sorry, to fail, you know, because I've been talking to one of the young singers, how important is that you have the chance to fail, you know, that you scheitern. Is that failure, scheitern? And that has gone a little bit, you know, the possibility that you get more than one chance. Nowadays you're happy if you get one chance, and you really try to give your best, you know. When I was young, I had more chances, you know, and I did fail, and I had another chance, and then I succeeded, so. And to take that stress away, that would be great, but, I mean...
It's part of it.
It's part, yeah. And anyway, you are young, and you're growing up in a different way, so they're all going to cope with it very well.
Tell me about the Vienna Staatsoper, because when you're immersed in that kind of environment, and it's so intense and so extreme, when you're part of the company, and not just a contract singer. The demands, I was talking to Sam Hasselhorn, who's going to be performing this afternoon, who's just starting in Vienna right now, and he was telling me about the numbers of roles and drop-ins and things that you're expected to do, and it's extraordinary. That must be such a formative thing when you're a young singer.
Well, it was different with me. As I say, times have changed, you know. When I began at the Vienna State Opera, my very first role was far away in Tokyo, you know, with the Vienna State Opera, and then I came back and then I was allowed to sing 1 or 2 Cherubino's. And then I sang the Shepherd in Tosca, and then I sang Flora, and I sang lots of small parts, and I was so happy. And then it was more than a year until I had to sing Rosina in Barbiere, that was still a little bit lighter. And then it took another year until they allowed me to sing Octavian, for which they have hired, because that's what they have heard in Graz.
That was your debut, wasn't it? In 93.
Yes.
Yes.
So I was given time. Yeah. But nowadays it's really, really demanding. I mean, I know some of the young singers, and they are studying all the time, one role after the next.
Would you be happy to do that now? It sounds terrifying. I mean, it is so different from when
they are young, you know. They can do it. They just have to be disciplined and positive, and just try to keep relaxed and just try to be open for life. You know what it brings. You never know. You know what is good for you. Maybe if you don't get that role, it's 2 years later you're realizing much better I didn't sing it, or the other way around. You know, it's just. I mean, it's a wonderful job, you know. I mean, it's just a wonderful profession. There's nothing to say. But if you really want my honest opinion, what I would not be able to do it again. Knowing what it means, knowing what it means for family. If you want children, if you want family, you are away a lot. You had countless goodbyes to my son, countless tears. Weeks alone in hotels sitting, and you wonder why. The only reason why I think there's a reason why I'm here is because I can give something to people, But otherwise, it's tough. But it's fantastic, if you work with the right people, and also you grow. It makes your personality grow, whether you want it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what are your favourite memories of your time at the Staatsoper? In those days, because you were involved with some great productions and with some wonderful singers. Who were your idols? Who did you look up to as singers?
As singers?
Yeah.
Well, I've always admired Kathleen Ferrier. Kathleen Ferrier, for me, I don't know how she did it. I always compare her with homeopathic medicine because she doesn't do anything. She's so pure, and she doesn't show anything, and still she hits you right in the middle, and I think that's really the goal you have to try to get to achieve. That's absolutely amazing. Well, I love Simon Kinley's side, I just love he's celebrating great successes in Vienna at the moment, He's in such good shape, and his lead singing is so alive.
You've done quite a lot of productions together as well, haven't you? And recorded together.
Yes, we've recorded together and toured together and did opera together. We won the Grammy together for Figaro's La Notte di Figaro with René Jacobs.
And what about one of your teachers, Walter Berry? Because
yes.
he must have been a huge influence.
Yes, he was.
Was he a mentor as much as a teacher for you?
Definitely, yeah, that's absolutely right. I would say I had two mentors in my life, and the musical mentor was definitely Walter Berry. Also, how fate brought me to him, was just life guided me, so you have to go to him. And he influenced me. Everything what I'm trying to forward on has his origin in what Walter Berry said. No read, if there's no read written. And it's not about you, and just sing straight and don't make ornaments. And also from his personality, very professional, very wonderful singer with a huge heart. He was a fantastic combination between technique and heart.
And what about the balance between singing and acting? Because you have to love the stage. You have to act vocally and physically. Was that something you took to naturally? Was that something you found was just part of your nature?
Yes, many times I wish that I would have just been an actress and not a singer. I said, why can't I just act on stage and not be physically complete fit, An actor can still act even if it's not much fun, if he has a rough voice and if he has a cold, it's just hanging around. No, I know acting is much more than that. Actually, my son has become an actor, so very happy he didn't become a singer from my point of view. But I love to express myself on stage. And for example, because you asked what was the highlight for me doing a state opera, I think it was really the Mozart da Ponte operas with Riccardo Muti in Vienna. We did it for 7 years. Every year I had a master class in summer for 2 months with Muti and the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. And just he was only working on recits. He would just not really work on arias. He expected us to do the arias right. We did it once. Then he said, stay in tempo, don't drag. But otherwise we worked for months and months and months on the recits. And that's the acting part of the opera.
That must be quite a different experience to doing with René Jacobs.
I didn't want to mention it, I was laughing when it was talking about the Grammy. Because it was, René Jacobs, there was a reason why this production won the Grammy, because I think it's a real beautiful production. but it was really hard work because he wants you to sing. He just tells you really every little breath. Susanetta, sei tu. No. Susanetta, sei tu. Susanetta, sei tu, you know. And I mean, you are completely, I can't act anymore, you know. But the result was wonderful, you know. But the development there was not so easy, you know. And
those Da Ponte operas with Muti in Vienna, very traditional productions?
Very traditional.
Yeah. And do you prefer that? Do you like director opera with the classic opera?
I have problems with the word director opera, you know, because generally I love to have a good director. And if a director follows the music, that's really the most important thing. If a director respects the piece, if he has read the piece, if he has tried, like we try to understand Schubert and his words, and a director has to do the same to understand Figaro, you know. I mean, if you don't understand Figaro and you think, Figaro needs some support because actually Cherubino is a little bit weird and has sexual problems, and Contessa is, you know, and you put it in and all these overall suits and raincoats and all these things, you know, it doesn't help. It doesn't help because the piece is genius, you know. But I had productions which have been completely not traditional. Like in Paris, I did La Clemenza di Tito with Willy Decker. He was the director. And it was work on the recits again, you know, acting on the recits with all the respect. And then the arias are just, give the arias time to live, you know, to transfer the music. If a director loves the piece and kind of understands the piece, then he can do whatever he wants. It needs respect and understanding, and then, for me, everything can happen. I also do not like, I came from this fantastic La Clemenza di Tito in Paris, directly to another La Clemenza di Tito at the Metropolitan, and that was, you know, the Romans all with the short trousers and the tights and the white wigs, and that didn't work for me.
What do you do when you know that you're committed to a production, you're going to be there for 2-3 months, you don't necessarily get on with the production, you don't get on with the director, you maybe don't have a sympathetic relationship with the conductor. What do you do? How do you survive that?
You take a deep breath and you keep telling yourself, I have to be professional. I'm not the director. I can suggest things if I do not agree, but in the end he's the director, and I have to try to find a way to make it work for me, that I put some sense into it, even if it's completely senseless. Then we are to just go home after rehearsals, try to have a nice apartment and some nice series in TV. Or I had a production in Paris, it was raining for 2 months, and exactly that has happened, you know. Terrible director, terrible costumes. I had to sing in a raincoat, and under the raincoat I had a turtleneck pullover which was stuffed with muscles because I was a man. And then I had this purple neck thing with a stuffed thing over the white raincoat. An armory was painted on the white raincoat. And then I had a wig which looked like an ape, and on top of that I had a huge helmet like 1/2 meter high. Yeah.
Can we find this on YouTube?
I don't know. That was Ariodante in Champs-Élysées in Paris. I don't think that was in times when not everything was filmed already. We were not streamed. We were not. But that was terrible, and that was a production where I had to arrive in the dressing room half an hour earlier before anyone else come, and I had to make myself cry. I mean, anyway, because I had such a lump in my throat because I was so unhappy there. And with all these coloraturas, you know, at the handle, I just couldn't, I was not free, so I locked my dressing room and said, and then I cried for 10 minutes. And then, you know, see, that was an extreme.
Let's talk about this thing, this extraordinary thing that is in here somewhere and in here.
Mm-hmm.
We call it the voice, but can you describe the relationship you have with it? Because it's so different to being an instrumentalist where everything is outside, even if you're sick, you can do something.
Yes.
You have this strange relationship with this thing inside you. And how does it work?
In a way, it's like in partnership. You should try to stay completely relaxed, acknowledge each other, not have too high expectations, and give it some freedom. I think that goes in both directions, I think the voice should not dictate.
Yeah.
No, shouldn't dictate. Oh, I did not with me. Never dictated my life. Stay relaxed, because I think you might have experienced that too. When you have a big concert coming up, I must not get ill. I must not get sick. I must not. No. And the day before, suddenly, I feel it. Now it has happened. Since I don't sing Octavian anymore, I never ever had a infection on my voice anymore. And before that, I had a little appointment at least once or twice a year, laryngitis and all this stuff with my doctor. I miss him so much. I haven't seen. We went out for dinner just for fun because we don't see each other anymore. But you have to stay relaxed. Just love your voice. The voice reflects your personality. The journey to release the voice is a journey of a personality, of your personality. Your personality develops while you are traveling, while you are studying singing, because you have to overcome so many hurdles. You are stopped constantly. Why can't I hit the right note? Why can't I want to relax, but I can't relax, and I do relax, but it's too much, okay, back to tension. But also you must not force it. The moment when you want to force a note, it's already gone. So it's such a complex thing.
And how do you look after it? What would your tips be to any of students and young artists for just good common sense vocal hygiene? How do you make sure it survives?
My word! I'm not the best example, really. I should not ask me.
It's a little like asking in brackets, what are your bad habits, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how do you survive them?
Yeah, well, that's a very personal thing, because, no, I'm not going to say that. I'm sure we are streamed now, aren't we? But my credo was always, I have to be happy. Happy, disciplined. Disciplined but happy. Or the other way around. Happy but disciplined. Yeah, and that worked for me very well. Other people need more peaceful. Some people need 10 hours of sleep. Other singers need 7 hours. For me, sleeping was always the most important thing. Yeah. And a good preparation. Just be really prepared. That's what I tried to explain in the few hours we had. That the discipline comes first. To sing in the right beat, to have the right intonation, to sing, to do the dynamics. Malcolm pointed that out yesterday at his masterclass as well, what is written. Amanda did as well, let's do what Mr. Strauss has suggested, That's a red line you can follow, you can rely on, and nobody can argue with you about that. There's so many things in our business you can argue about the quality of the voice, about the beauty of the voice, about personality. There are some things you cannot argue, and that's the things which, funny enough, so many young singers do not do. Because we all, me included, we all try to make art. We want to transport. But just like if you want to be a great poet, you have to learn to write letters first. Always the same letter, and try to make it beautiful. Then you have to read, you have to follow the rules, where you put the commas and where you put the exclamation mark. There are rules for that. Yeah. And that's absolutely necessary to prepare an instrument in your head to work with it like a grown-up singer. And not being it's like an artist who has never done any master classes and just, no, it's an amateur painter, which is fantastic, But I think what we are doing demands just more professional view. Does that make sense? More professional view, yeah. Yeah, first you have to work, and then you can have the fun.
Let's talk about the relationship between your life as an opera singer and your life as a leader singer and a recitalist, and how they relate to one another, because the kind of intimacy and focus and truth of art song and leader singing, and that expressiveness and that intensity which encompasses the whole world in such a small space. How does that affect you as an opera singer?
A lot. I always keep telling everyone, you have to sing lead. Even if you have a huge Wagner voice, if you only entirely Verdi singer, you, in my opinion, you have to sing lead, or at least you have to sing Mozart for the colors. When I did my first composer in Ariadne by Strauss, Ariadne of Naxos, then I was singing composer for 2 months, and this is for a mezzo-soprano, it's a huge piece, yeah. And I realized after that I was lacking so many colors for my recitals. I always compare it in opera because of the distance, the size of the house, the orchestra. You have costumes, you have so many other people around, chorus, extras, lights. You need to paint, most of the time you're painting with a huge brush, more like you're painting a house, And when you are singing a lead, you are sitting at home in a rocking chair, and you're just painting a little miniature, and you have a very fine brush. But if you're used to use the fine brush, you have this implanted in your mind, and whatever you do in opera, it's going to be more flexible and more colorful.
There's another relationship, isn't there? Because you can see these people.
Oh, yeah.
When you're in recital, you have that communication. It's direct, it's immediate, and you can see them, you can feel their response to every word sometimes.
Yes, but that has changed because some years ago, it was not a habit that you could see the audience. The hall was always dark. Or for example, Elisabeth Schwarzkopf, she insisted that it's completely dark. She didn't want to see anybody. And that's just how you deal the best with it, how you can produce your art, it's your choice. Nowadays, I think everything, the entire time, is communication. We are all communicating all the time, so I think that's very appropriate that you're also communicating in a recital.
And what about language? Because you spend a great deal of time in Germany and Austria and in recitals singing in German. Here we have English audiences, and do they react differently?
Oh, I must say, English audiences, and I have always said that not only because I'm on live stream. For me, the English audiences always have been the best lead audiences I have seen ever.
Why? What
From the
makes you
very
say
beginning, since 25 years, I keep telling that. Because they have a fantastic combination between openness, they are open to new things, and knowledge. Yeah, in Vienna, you also have people with a huge knowledge, and they also love music. But it's more in our history, in this Austrian history, they said, we know how it works, because that's where it started. Schubert lived in Vienna, so I'm from Vienna. I really know how it works, or Mozart lived here. And since everybody lived in Vienna, so it's more, let's see. So when I was a very young singer, and I think it's 20 years or 25 years ago that I had my first recital at Wigmore Hall, I was absolutely nobody knew my name. But it was full. They just came because Wigmore says, here is a young new singer. And they give you a chance. They don't look at you and say, let's see how you have been studying. I heard something. That doesn't happen in England. So I always felt extremely warmly welcomed with this audience. And that's very important.
I want to ask you about a project you've had. I don't know if it's still going, but taking song recitals to places in Austria that wouldn't normally hear you. You've been to villages and sung to very small community audiences.
Yes.
And how did that start, and what's the thinking behind it?
Also a coincidence, you know, as I said, my life was always directed by a universe, by a spirit, I don't know, but it just was. But this happened because I had done a charity concert in Salzburg, a little bit outside of Salzburg, where my parents live, charity concert for the hospital, and I knew that there were lots of farmers coming, you know, my parents live in the countryside, and so their neighbors are all farmers. And of course they all come, we come and we watch the daughter of Mr. Kirchschlager, let's see what she's doing, you know, because they're all not in opera or lead. And so I thought, okay, let's do a real good program, which they might like. And I did everything. I started from the Viennese old traditional songs, I did operetta, but I did Schubert, Brahms, Mahler I did, and songs like that. And afterwards we had a glass of wine, the farmers and I, and one of the farmers said, oh, I never had imagined that I like the Mahler. You know, he was so, Mahler has heard Mahler, but that's something from another universe, you know. The people you have to study and they have to be educated. And suddenly in this barn, where the charity concert had taken place, he heard Mahler and he thought, that's really great. You know, and he wants to come to another recital. He wants to hear another recital. And that was the initial idea for me, where I thought, okay, if it works with this farmer, then it might work with other farmers as well. And since we have an incredible tradition of folk songs which came out from the classical music, like my encore 2 days ago, it's a folk song in Austria. People just sing it along. And guten Abend, guten Nacht, da 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 da, oder am Brunnen vor dem Tor. Everybody can sing that in Austria, and in England too. And so I started this tour, and I toured 10 villages in Austria, or 9 villages in Austria for each district, 1 village. The biggest village the smallest village had less inhabitants than the Viennese Musikverein seats. It was always full. I didn't take money for it, you know, that was the idea as well, you know, that I do it. I wanted to experience how does it feel to sing without getting money for it. And actually it's a huge difference, not only for me, but also for the audience, because they know that I sing for them because I want to sing for them. And they know that I'm not here because I get a certain amount of money. And so it's really much more than it, even now, if we sing for you, I know, hopefully it's a gift. But without money, it's really a gift and nothing else. And so we were remoted, my pianist and I drove with my own car. And after 1 week, my assistant had to join us, I don't know, somewhere where we have been in Austria. He had to pick up all the gifts, all the presents I had got. I mean, I got food, I got bread from the farmers, I got the ham, the wine, the oil, paintings, plates, cookies, hot bath for the feet, flowers. So my car was completely full with gifts. And then one of the best gifts was, just thinking of it, I could immediately start crying, that they said, we want to sing for you. And then in Salzburg, where we had the glass of wine in a little Gasthaus, pub, they said, would you just come over? And there were 4 people, as it's usual, you know, they're sitting around the table. And they were sitting around the table, and I was the 5th on the table, and they were just singing for me. That was really...
What a beautiful thing.
Yeah, things like that. So I must say that was by far the most beautiful music trip I've ever done. And I've been in Japan and everywhere. And it was fantastic times, but that was in my own country. That was also, sorry, you have to stop me. But I thought, how ridiculous, you know. I have been going from Vienna to the airport in Schwechat for about 20 years. I have been going that way like 500 times or 1,000 times or 2,000 times back and forth from my apartment to the airport. And that was the best known route in Austria I knew. And there are other routes, amazing country. it was so fantastic. We never took the highway, we just took back roads, and we met people, and I thought, wow, life is really okay, you know, when you're in a big city. People are more stressed, it's faster, but in the countryside, there's really, and they are singing in the countryside, and they're making music still.
I was going to ask, does it actually change the way you think about some of the songs now?
Yes. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you what experience I had, you know. When I sang this last song, a man came and said, "Thank you so much. I've been singing that for my little girls after their mother had died." Oh my God, you're singing for people like that, you know, or you're singing for it had a lot to do with loss and hope, and that they acknowledge, you know, that I come to them to sing for them, that this music is for them too.
And it reconnects you with the origin of the songs and the poetry.
Yes, and there's so many songs that just belong there, and I'm really a fighter for the lead, because it has to go to the people, more direct, you know. I mean, this is a fantastic occasion here in Leeds, because everything mixes, people sing themselves, they listen, and everyone can come, and that has to happen more often.
How has your voice been changing? Voices, they develop, they mature.
Yeah.
They become different things. They grow with you.
Yeah. So.
What's happened to yours? How would you describe it?
Well, you know, there are ups and downs, and when you are young and you take off, you know, you are up. And when I listen to my recordings from like 20 years ago, I mean, you can hear that the voice, of course, sounds much younger. Otherwise, that would be spooky. And then, you know, then you go through different periods of your life, and your voice always follows you, you know. Whether it's good, you know, then you're not so free. And then you go through development. And obviously, for the last years now, I mean, my voice is completely relaxed, more relaxed than it has ever been, just myself. Because, to be honest, I'm quite happy to be a little bit over 50 now, and just say, okay, well, I have done it already, you know. I mean, everything what I do now, it's because I really love to do it, and I want to do it.
It's always your choice now.
Yeah. I mean, this pressure to be judged all the time, and to I must say, that is one of the big pressures I'm very happy I don't have to have if I don't want it anymore, that you are watched and judged, you know. The critics, they can do what they want. You have to get used to that. My voice, I think, I mean, at the moment it's taking off a little bit. It's just, I wonder where it goes now, because I thought, okay, now we just sit back and relax, and my son is grown up, no money for him, apartment, don't have to pay anymore, so just relax, you know. And suddenly my voice says, it's going so well, let's sing a little bit. So, no. So I think I will get up and just, of course, sing for some more years.
It's really singing more for fun, more for yourself.
Entirely for fun, and the voice is always a measure for where you are. Always when I was a student and I had a huge love problem, you know, or was desperate in love and it didn't work, pain, love, pain, yeah. It was so painful, and then finally you solved it. And always like, I don't know, 1 or 2 or 3 weeks later, my voice changed. And was better, much better than before. That's another thing, you know, that, or maybe that's encouraging, that if you do have problems and if you have to overcome problems, not only with your voice, but also privately, it always makes you grow. And I believe, unfortunately, personalities grow when they are in pain, if they have a problem. If you are happy, you love life, and things are developing and going on, but nobody really wants to change voluntarily. So life forces you to change and squeezes you a little bit, and then the next butterfly comes. And then you think, now I'm free, and then the next thing comes. You know, life is full of development and changes.
Chase those butterflies.
Yeah.
Angelika Kirchschlager, thank you very much indeed. It's lovely to meet you. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
And thank you for singing to us. at Leeds Leader as well, and teaching us so much about music.
Thank you. It was a great, great pleasure. Thank you to all. Thank you.